get together, we laugh hysterically. Like
a
a bunch of idiots, always.
This podcast
It's so much fun.
This is all it's going to be. It's just
Us
one big
laughing
laugh.
like idiots and having fun, which is all I want.
Yep.
This is all I could want from a Sunday afternoon.
Yep.
All right, we're back at the Red Door. We're joined by Johnny C. Welcome, Johnny. How you doing, man?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
It's going well.
It's interesting because we were saying how we wanted to have people on the show that we find interesting. And of course, we had to be like, well, it's got to be our friends, first and foremost. Who our friends are the most interesting. And we've been friends with you for, my God, how many years?
A long, long time. I met you guys on my birthday a long time ago. In the early 2000s, maybe?
It was 2003, wasn't it?
When did you guys open for the
What was
Misfits?
that?
Oh, I don't know. Is that like a light coming in?
There's a light shining on your shirt, and I can't tell where it's coming from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it an aura? Am I
Yeah,
blessed by Jesus?
You have a green aura.
I have a green aura.
We'll look up later what that means.
Yeah.
So
It means I'm dying.
So yeah, it
Yeah.
was the Misfits.
yeah, we opened for the Misfits in what the hell year was that?
2003.
2003.
That was the first time I saw you guys, and I had nothing to do on my birthday, and the Misfits were in town, and they're my favorite band, and they were playing this tiny, tiny, tiny podunk little club, and
Called Jared's Place.
Jared's Place, which I don't even know if is around anymore.
No.
But,
No, it's not.
oh, it's a bummer. But my buddy Joe Wallace, shout out to Joe Wallace out there in Iowa with all the Cornhuskers.
Dude, he's in Iowa?
He's in Iowa, yeah.
What the hell is he doing there?
His job brought him out there with his family and everything.
shit.
Yeah, they're doing great.
Wow.
Yeah, I
didn't know
hopefully
that?
will see him this year for C2E2, the comic convention out in Chicago. But yeah, he's out in Iowa.
Wow.
It was with Joe and Brendan though, right?
Nope.
Brendan
it was just me and Joe.
That's
This is where it became a friendship. Because it was just me and Joe, and at the time, and I don't mean this, I wasn't a big fan of female vocalists. It wasn't connecting with me. And then so we had the opening band for the Misfits that had this female vocalist, and she was just like badass. And like she could just like sing, and it was just awesome. And she was so punk rock. And I was blown away. I was like, wow, I was impressed by somebody where I don't normally find to be impressed with. So when she was at the bar, I was like, I gotta get this girl a drink. And sure enough, that turned out to be you, Tracy. And I saw you guys as Rebecca Nurse open for the Misfits, and it blew my mind.
Yeah.
And then you told me that you were going to be opening again for Days of the New, another band I was a fan of, like a week later.
Yeah. It was
So that's when me and my buddy Brendan, and I think my cousin Jason, who's passed now, God rest his soul, that's when we came to see you. And then we came to see you again and again and again. And then we just became friends because it was just, you guys had awesome music and it was just fun times and it was just cool. Like we were in our 20s, we were chasing a band. It felt like something you would do in the 70s, but we were doing it in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm so glad it provided it. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be sitting here today.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
You know
It's
what I
so
mean?
true. And we were just saying, we just had Phil that we interviewed, and we were saying like that was like the last era of like that you'll see that kind of stuff going on, because now it's all like Instagram models and like attention online, and it's like that. Those were different days. That was the last era. I think we're gonna see that.
But is it really that, or is it that we're just old now?
No, I mean,
I think it's a little bit of that, Sean, and
Yeah.
I think that exists still. Like that era of what we did and how we came together, I think that exists. But I think it's so marginalized
Yes.
now
Yeah.
that it's something that, like, if you find that now in this day and age, that's special,
yes.
Yeah.
right? Because it was more common back in the day, and we found each other through that in the 2000s. We're now 2025, and again, it's marginalized. The same way other countercultures are marginalized that were more predominant in the past. So that's a way to look at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So we were just talking about how you go by several names and how
Yes.
there's a distinction between them. So we know you as John Cavuto, Johnny C. What's the difference between all of these things?
Yes. So you guys call me John because you met me before I started creating comics.
Aha.
So that's the key factor there, is that you met me with friends from my youth who that's how they referred to me as. So when I started creating comics, I had to open up social media. I had to do all these things. So I found a way to create distinction by branding myself as Johnny C. And then I found a way where if I am in the midst of people, I can kind of know and I started meeting a lot of people. So it's hard to kind of keep that aligned. So in turn, if you refer to me as Johnny C, I met you from comics. If you refer to me as John, you're more of a long-term friend from the
I get it.
past. But if you're a friend from the past, I know you anyway. Right?
Yeah.
Where that's a funny story is that I was walking the floor of San Diego Comic-Con a few years ago before it opened. And I'm walking and I'm in my comic environment. So I don't expect to hear my common name. And as I'm walking, I hear John Cavuto. That threw me for a loop. And I turn around and I look and I see a friend from high school who they had gotten into comics and they were creating comics and they recognized me and saw me and referred to me from the name they know me as. So it was just so mind-blowing that two worlds collided. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It was like Independent George and Social George from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. How did you get into comic books?
Well, I've always loved comics. I've always loved reading comics. I was the fat, nerdy, smelly kid in school with the X-Men shirt, and the reason why I was smelly is because that was my favorite shirt, and I wore it 4 out of the 7 days of the week.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I was reading comics and stuff way back before it was cool to do so, and it was, you know what it was? It was a teenager's way of enjoying soap operas.
Yeah.
For the lack of a better description.
That makes a lot of sense, because I was just, one of the questions I was going to ask you is, what do you think is the big draw to Comic-Con? I mean, 200,000 people go to this thing every year.
Yeah.
So it's huge, and it's just getting bigger all the time. And the break from reality has got to be a big factor that gets a lot of people into it. Like, you go and dress up as a superhero, and you can be a different person. And that's something that everybody, whether they admit it or not, is a fan of.
It's an appealing concept. You don't have to wait for just Halloween.
Yeah.
You can just dress up and go to a show, and if you look like a really cool Deadpool, where nobody knows your identity, well, shit, you're gonna have a lot of people stop you and ask you for photos. That feels fucking good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a boost for anybody's ego. And you know what the best part about it is? They're behind a mask. So when it's about identity, it's just about connecting.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And that translates into a lot of other areas too. Like, look at all the bands like Kiss and I'm drawing a blank now. There's
Slipknot,
Gwar, like
Gwar,
all that kind of shit. Like, you can be anonymous and still be successful and famous and whatever you want to be. And Comic-Con is one of the ways that people do that, and it's fascinating, man. I mean, it's such a huge industry. So you're involved in several Comic-Cons. You go to the San Diego one. You go to a bunch of other like local ones.
Yes.
Well, you created your own. Like, we need to get to that part, right?
No. So I didn't create my own convention. I've toyed with the idea for a while.
Okay.
But I go to different conventions. I go to the major ones. So if I were to say that there's the top 3 conventions in the United States, I'd say number 1 is San Diego Comic-Con, because it's international.
Yeah.
It's one of the longest running shows, and it brings people from all over, and it brings Hollywood's biggest and brightest. So the studios all go there. So when you're an independent on the floor exhibiting your product, and you have some of the biggest and brightest people walking among you. Like, I remember one of the conventions I was exhibiting at, Oliver Stone was just walking casually through the independent comic aisles. Like, director Oliver Stone. Like, he wouldn't take a selfie with me, respectfully so. I understand why nowadays in hindsight, but I got to shake his hand. And I got to tell him how much I, love Natural Born Killers and all the movies he's made, and, the social commentary and the art form that in which he produced the work. You know what I mean? So it's cool. So this is a really special place where you can connect with people, but you could also be seen.
Yeah.
As a creator. So where, a band would go on tour to be seen, as a comic creator, you want to go to a convention to be seen to make sure that your work gets out there. More so than just digitally.
So then you were going to the conventions or going to these events for a while, and then you created your own. Like, how did this? You created your own comic book, correct? Your own.
Yeah, so I was creative before going to Comic-Con.
You can tell by the way that I'm like so like foreign from this. Like, that's why we're happy you're on here.
That's fine, because a lot of people are really.
Yeah, they don't understand how it works.
Exactly. But. So anybody can make a comic, and that's a little dangerous to say.
Yeah.
Because it's like you get the grand idea to go out there and make something, but you also have to understand the intricacies of it. The same way, almost, I think anybody could be a musician, but you be a good musician, right?
Yes.
That's kind of the thing there. So when it comes to comics specifically, I was very lucky because I got to work with friends on creative projects like the web series we did back in the day. If it wasn't for that web series, I wouldn't have learned to become a good writer.
Yes.
And to write scripts and to write dialogue and to write interactions meant for the medium in which they're presented in. Yep. Right. So that helped train me for comics. And when we were doing that, and I was realizing it's really, really hard to write a script and to pull together a film project, it's a little bit easier to do comics. And I was reading comics and loving comics anyway, but I never thought I could make comics. Just because it's something I consumed and I loved, I never really thought, I could do this.
Right.
And and it's not a matter of just like, it's just thinking it through. It's like, I love this all the time. I love Doritos. Can I make a Dorito at home? Maybe. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you never think about these things until you actually think about them. And that's where it got to the point where I was really frustrated because I like having a creative output, but I can't always go film stuff.
Right.
So, but I can always hire an artist to draw stuff. And then when I first started collaborating on my first book, I was able to meet an artist who was very gracious to work collaboratively with me for nothing. So we were getting started, and we got each other started on a project. Joseph Arnold, he illustrated Sartana for me. And to see ideas from my head come to life on page that look exactly like what they were in my head is awe-inspiring. It almost makes you feel like a god.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so, and I even said this to and I don't really hold the two together, but like, I've never had a child. I don't know what it's like to have a child, but to create something is probably pretty close. Right,
no,
to hold the comic book you created in your hand is
no doubt.
Probably a little bit close to that.
No, it is. Yeah,
it's your baby.
It's my baby. Right. Sadly,
sure.
I don't have my own children, regrettably by my parents' word, but I do have a lot of comics I made.
No, yeah, there's definitely a lot of similarity with that. Like every song that we create, even like stupid videos that we make, it's just like something you're proud of and that you want to see like
it's empowering.
Go out into the world. Yeah, it's empowering for sure. And even though like when we were making the movie together, we had to make a lot of compromises. I still have that sense of pride in that we got a finished product done, even though it's not exactly what I envisioned in my head due to like financial restrictions and all that crap. But, But still, it's definitely such a rewarding thing.
More specifically to the movie itself, despite the quality, but despite any comments, any critique anybody has of that project, we all got to work together as friends to produce this thing that will outlast the test of time.
Yeah.
Right.
It will be there beyond me, beyond you, beyond all of this, because it's there.
For better or worse.
For better or worse, exactly. So that's beautiful. And now I will carry my lifetime having these great memories of producing this product with very, very good friends of mine. And that, no matter the output or the quality, that is valuable to me. That is something that's awesome. You know what I mean? And if other people enjoy it, that's great. You know what I mean?
Yep. That's just an added bonus if that's the case. Yeah.
Exactly.
For people watching that don't know, you guys.
Well, you were involved too.
You were involved too.
Yeah, but
you were the best. You were one of the best actors in that film for the little short window that you were in there, because you know what? You brought conviction to that role. You legitimately convinced me that you were a midwife.
Yeah.
Telling this woman to push to give birth. Like, I was in, like, and that's at the beginning of the movie too. So like, you do a good job of tricking people to stick around to watch the rest of the movie. I did a appearance at Spooky Empire, which is a convention in Florida. And I said, like, watch the trailer, it's great, but don't watch the full film because I don't want to be on the hook for that. And that's not disparaging to the movie. It was just I don't want them to come back to me after going, this movie stinks. But the trailer shows like this beautiful piece of work we put together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah,
everybody learned from that. I mean, even for me doing the makeup on it, it was a learning experience. We never did anything like that before.
Yeah. For those of you watching, the movie we're talking about is called Vibration. It came out in 2020. It's a feature horror film that we all made together. It was the first for pretty much everyone involved in making it. It was our first time doing a feature film, so a lot of learning involved. But like you were saying, Johnny, the experience of doing it is something
priceless.
that is priceless. I would never never take it back.
I mean, there's a lot of regret, only in the sense that I wish I can go back to the very beginning and we could develop it more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wish we could develop it. I know we were under such time constraint that, like, if we were like had a little bit more time, I feel like we could have even made it like that much greater.
Oh, absolutely.
No doubt. No doubt. There was a lot of constraints, time-wise and budget-wise, and we had to make a lot of compromises, but we made a film, we released it, and it was a blast to make.
The other cool thing about that project, and it was kind of a milestone for me creatively, it was like I can work on somebody else's project.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a confirmation that I don't have to be the progenitor of the idea.
Right.
I could jump aboard somebody else's idea and help improve it and help be a team player.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and I think that's a big thing with creators nowadays, whether you're in a band or whether you're making comics or whether you're doing whatever, is that you have to understand when you are the lead and when you are the component, when you're the gear or when you're one of the hands on the clocks.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
No, it definitely opened the door for us to do more because the experience of doing it just taught us all so much, I think.
For sure. I have the idea for the sequel, Sean, when you're ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually already pitched it to Matt, so.
Nice.
We forgot to ask you earlier. We'll go back to this.
Yes.
Where can people find your comics?
Yes. So right now, digitally, the quickest and easiest way to find my comics is through a website called Global Comics with an X.
Okay.
So Global Comics is now the leading platform in digital comics out there. They have every single publisher except for Marvel. Marvel has their own. So DC, all the other publishers are through this platform called Global Comics.
Okay.
So you mentioned that was one of the things I was going to ask you. Marvel. You're a huge Stan Lee fan.
Yes.
What makes Marvel better than DC?
I think the thing that makes Marvel a little bit better than DC is that if you look at the top 3 DC characters versus like the top 3 Marvel characters, let's play it out real quick. Top 3 DC characters: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Let's describe those 3 characters. Batman, he's a billionaire who dresses up like a bat to go fight crime at his will. Superman, he's a super-powered alien that came from another planet that just wants to fit in, but he can literally do everything, and you know what? He might not care about us. He's just doing whatever for the sake of whatever. Then you have Wonder Woman, who's an expat from an old ancient Grecian island who might be a god. None of those things are relatable to me. Look at Marvel's top 3 characters. Spider-Man. He's a kid who wears his underwear to swing around the city, can't pay his fucking bills, is in love with the hottest girl in school, but can't really nail her down. Captain America, scrawny kid, means well, gets juiced by the system to be a better person and struggles to keep it real in the light of being given supreme power. These are all things that are more relatable to the human individual than from DC, right? I can relate to Marvel characters more, I feel like, than I can DC characters. The only Marvel character I can't relate to is Tony Stark, and that's only because he's an asshole.
I've never heard anyone put it that way, but that makes so much sense.
Right?
It's crazy.
So when you look at it, you look at the basis of these, like Spider-Man specifically, because like here's this kid who's just like given great power, and he has to suffer the death of his father figure, his uncle, to really understand with great power comes great responsibility, even though this is something that he told him in waking life prior, right? It took the death for it to stick. That's a lot of things that a regular person can find common dealings with. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's so true.
Put your mic up.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, it's all good.
My bad.
So, when you do booths at like all the comic conventions, your booth, I went to one last year at was it Mohegan Sun?
Oh yes. So Mohegan Sun's convention is Terrificon. It's run by Mitch Halleck. It's a great show because it does the high celebrity thing, the celebrity comic creators, but it doesn't disremind you of the indie guys. And so it's a great show where if you're an indie guy, you could be seen by somebody bigger. Yeah. The same way San Diego can do that, but if you're on the East Coast, you don't have to go all the way out to San Diego for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was super pumped to be there. My kid's a big comic book fan, so he was pumped, and it was just cool to see him so like excited about all the stuff that was going on there. And Chris Poland from Megadeth was there. That was a huge
yes.
That was a huge thing for me.
Yes. So a good friend of mine actually brought Chris to the show.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. So was Matt Man. He writes a Doctor Who book. His last name is escaping me for the moment, only because I've been drinking whiskey all morning with you guys. But Matt Man brought Chris Poland to the show, and I was very lucky enough where he brought him to my booth just to meet him casually. And it's just like, I was so busy at the moment that it couldn't sink in at the moment that I was meeting Chris Poland from Megadeth. So I was still able to keep my composure and just meet him like a casual person, which was the better thing to do. If I was of my right mind, I would have geeked out in front of him and fell to the floor and maybe like done the Wayne's World, we're not worthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, your booth is, you were saying it's really unique because he's got
You've got coffee and hot sauce at your booth, which nobody else has. So right there off the bat, that's a huge like marketing thing that like draws people's attention immediately.
Yes. So one of the things, couple of things here. One is that when you're doing indie comics, and I'm sure you could see this with bands as well, you have to do something to kind of set yourself apart from everybody else. You have to kind of make yourself noticeable. Well, one of my comics is called Surrounded by Death. Basic concept is the flavor of the book is like Mallrats meets The Walking Dead. So it's a little bit funny. It's a little bit serious. It's all about surviving the zombie apocalypse in a mall. During the end times, basically. But one of the concepts of the first story arc is our main characters venturing into a dangerous territory because they ran out of a very specific coffee blend that people love. And when you read the book, really it's just a commentary on what we hold dear, the lengths we'll go to for things, and friendships and relationships in between. But what that allowed me was an opportunity to create a experience for people who come to visit me at Terrificon and other conventions, where I created a pop-up of the cafe from my comic book on the convention floor.
That is so cool.
So
Yeah.
if you come to see me at the show, I've got an apron that is like a barista from Starbucks, and it's got the logo of the cafe from the comic book on the front of it, and you can buy a copy of the comic, and you'll get a free cup of coffee in the process.
Oh my God.
And that's just a marketing technique.
Well, I'll be coming this year. I'm going to come out of my shell and actually come see you.
Oh, well, that'll be fun. I'm glad. So I'm glad Sean was able to come by. But
I
yeah,
know.
absolutely, it'd be awesome to see you at the show. But it's just another technique to, like, whether the quality of the book is good or not. It's hard in the sea of all the stuff that's out there to be noticed.
Yeah.
But when you have these tie-ins, like a really awesome blend of coffee, or I partnered with Silk City Hot Sauce out of Vermont to create a hot sauce blend that it's not featured in the book the way the coffee is, but it features our characters on the label, and you can read issue 1 with a QR code on the hot sauce label. So these things
so
kind of set us
cool.
apart, where if you come to a Comic-Con and I can't sell you a book, well, maybe I can sell you a bag of coffee where you'd reconsider the book, or a hot sauce where you'd read the book anyway on the QR code, right?
That is so unique.
So,
Yeah. Your like your writing style is kind of concentric or based around relationships, and you're honestly like one of the nicest people we know. So that makes sense, because you're like a real person, and you're like, going back to the Marvel DC thing, like you relate to the Marvel characters because they're relatable people, they're nice people, and you kind of are the same way. Is there anybody that does not like you, and if so, why?
Yes, I have a lot of enemies. Like, when you're saying I'm nice, I'm like, well, X wouldn't think so, Y wouldn't think so, Z wouldn't think so. This person definitely hates me.
We can't see. The funniest part is Sean and I were like, we couldn't picture anyone not liking you and why. Like, that's a funny question to ask.
I
Like, who
think the
doesn't
why-
like you and why?
I think the why could be my own condition, right? Like, I just, by definition, my mental illness makes me think people don't like me.
Yeah,
Right?
I think
So,
yeah, I think
so there's
that's
a little
more
bit
what
of that there, where I might think somebody doesn't like me, and really they do. But also, like, I could see why some people might not like me because of other qualities, like at work, for example. Right, I work an office job. I'm not just rock star comic creator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I go work an office job. I'm also fucking loud as shit. Right, my decibel volume is way too high. So those people don't like me. They don't know me, but they don't like me because of that quality. So, and I think anywhere you go, you could be the nicest guy in the world, and you
Yeah.
could run into people who don't like you. It could be their problem, not your problem. It could be
Right.
It could be their fault, not your fault.
You can't please everyone.
You can't please everybody.
It's true.
But if you surround yourself with the right people, you'll have few instances of that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Which is why we made a movie together and did so many countless web series and music videos and all this kind of shit that
Yes.
we've done together over the years.
I'm blessed that you guys lent yourself creatively to these very absurd web series episodes that we did that were just like funny. It was like following the whim of absurd humor. And then following it through to the end, where you have a final product where it might be funny to some, it might not be funny to others, but it was funny to us.
Yeah, that's what
and we
matters.
got
Yep.
to do it together, and that was the important part, really.
We,
You
we
know
were
what I
just
mean?
we were just talking about that recently. How we stopped kind of caring, like we making any sort of projects, music, comedy. We stopped caring what we think people want to see, and just started focusing on what makes us inspired, and that's really all you can do.
So I noticed that in comics as well, that people try to like strive to get into the big industries, the big companies like Marvel, DC, Image. They strive to get into a publisher, and it's like they're almost miserable in their creative experiences.
Yep.
Where if you're just making a comic because you really love the idea and you're making it for yourself, and other people might happen to like that, that is a better prospect that has more mileage than say content you're just creating for the sake of creating content. You know what I mean?
It's more. It's going to be more authentic, and it will come across that way because it came from you, and you just don't care.
Right, exactly. And I think the more you care about making it, the less quality the product will be.
Yep.
And then when you care less, the quality of the product gets better, and then that's when you make it and you're not prepared for it.
Yeah. It's true.
You know what I mean?
True.
Yeah, like we spent a little bit of time trying to like project what's going to be the most popular thing that we could possibly put out and that kind of thing. And then we stepped back and thought about it. We're like, wait a minute. If we focus on this, we're going to end up pigeonholing ourselves into something that we don't want to do all the time and don't want to be.
Yeah.
Why would we do that?
Well, so it's so funny that you say that because you've come full circle.
Yeah.
Because you look at Vulgarity of the Series and the absurdist humor there, and then you circle all the way back around to Wow, That's Nuts. And you can see how that was born out of that
Yep.
with the lack of caring about other components. And it's almost like Wow, That's Nuts is a better version of Vulgarity of the Series only because we stopped caring about you guys stopped caring about whatever. It's just like you're putting out the content because that's where your creative heart takes you.
Right.
It's where you follow your creative heart to the final end.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Well, we're gonna be talking to you about doing some more writing, so so be prepared. Yeah.
Well,
we need and it's funny, like Jen and Brian was like, I'm ready. Like, when are we doing this? Like, you saw
So-
some. Yeah.
I look back at that and I look at, you say Jen and Brian, friends of ours, you, Sean, you, Tracy, Jules, everybody acted so well for that series. Brian especially. Brian took fucking dialogue from Apocalypse Now. Shit that I pulled from a fucking movie that Marlon Brando's supposed to be saying. And like he permeated that into the character that he's supposed to be playing. And he did it so well that it was like, why are we in a basement filming this for a web series when this kid should be in on a movie set somewhere? And like I don't know what Brian's doing for his professional life right now. I think he's a teacher.
Yes.
But all that aside, like that's like the master chef who by accident is actually just a carpenter who really should be a chef.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
100%. 100%.
It's like
yeah.
that. It's that. We all have greatness within us, but sometimes we fall in the wrong industry.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of finding a way to get into the right one, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's finding our people that just have this like crazy whacked out sense of humor that we all happen to have that we've had since we met. That's why we're all like really close friends, because we're all crazy.
We're all a little crazy, but you know what? I think we call it crazy, but in turn, it's just we all have the same sense of, we all appreciate the same sense of humor.
Yeah.
We all have an appreciation of absurdist humor, physical humor, practical humor. Like we get it.
Yeah.
Right? We get it. If we say something, we know we don't have to be worried about offending because we know we're not trying to be offensive, even though if we might be offensive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's just
and
that's a lost art nowadays in the wake of political shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, it's true too, and I always say, like, if you don't find farts funny, we're probably not going to be friends. We're probably not going to be friends.
If you can't hear the word fart and just not laugh, you have a fucking problem.
The sound.
What
Yeah.
about
I'm waiting for you to play the fart sound.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
That's the funny thing too, is you guys were like, oh yeah, can you hear the sound effects? I'm waiting for awesome fart sound effects. Got nothing. Nothing so far.
There we go. There's another one for you.
There we go.
So you, like we mentioned, you have a full-time job, but you
Yes.
also do a lot of comic book creation and attending the conventions and all that stuff. How much time does that take?
All of my time.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
All of my time.
That's what I
So
thought.
all of my time, like even this, like had to be scheduled.
Yep.
Which I hate.
I know.
Because I wish I could just get up and go whenever my friends say, hey, let's go do a thing.
No, but
And it
like,
used to be like that. It's not like that anymore. You know what I mean?
the way I look at it is like if there comes a point in my day where I don't know what to do, I don't have anything to do, then I'm going to get depressed. Like there's never like an absence of shit for me to do. You know what I mean? Like whether it's creating music, videos, any of that, any creative aspect, like that's what drives me to.
When you're not doing those things and you know you need to do those things, do you feel guilty that you're not doing them?
Not only guilty, I feel like anxiety that I'm not creating.
But here's the thing. You need to take that downtime for yourself.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But you can never fully, truly have that downtime because you feel guilty because I need to be writing this script. I need to be writing this. I need to read this book because I have a podcast interview with X, Y, and Z coming up on Monday, so I need to be prepared for it. Like all these things, you know what I mean? Plus work, plus family responsibility. Like I don't like assigning blame or reasons for excuses for anything, but like when so much takes up your life, it's easy to see when things fall by the wayside.
Right.
Yep.
I feel myself very blessed that I could roll up on you two, having not even fucking texted you guys for months, and then we just like fall in like it was yesterday. That's a blessing to me because you lose track of that. You lose track of just the human condition of staying in touch with the people who are important to you.
It's true.
Yeah.
But the blessing and the beauty of that is that when you can see them and hang out with them, it's like a day never passed.
It's true.
And that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's a blessing. The people who you lose in that process are the people that weren't worth keeping all along.
It's true. You're absolutely right about that. And that's like that. Yeah, we were saying that. Like that's like why we feel close to you all these years. And we have gone like, I think, well, I don't even know when the last time I saw you is.
It's a really long
It's
time.
been a few-
really long.
it's-
I couldn't even put a finger on it.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's definitely my fault because I've turned it.
There's
yeah,
no. Don't assign faults. That's the wrong way to do it. There's no fault in it. It's a matter of that life and things dominate. And we have to just be mindful of our friends,
Right.
not beholden to them, but know that when we have the time together, it's blessed and we can appreciate it.
Amen.
Yeah.
So don't say fault. It's
Yeah.
nobody's fault. It's just the way things shake out.
It's true.
Yep.
It's true.
So go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
You speak. No, you speak.
I love those podcasts where everybody's like talking over everyone to the point where like
It's disorganized,
Yeah.
but the other part about it is it shows that everybody's passionate about what they're talking about.
yeah, it's
right?
true.
Yeah, for sure. So in the midst of all the stuff that you're busy doing, you somehow also find time to invest in the stock market.
Sometimes, yes. So I stopped doing that only because I found a final goal with that money.
Oh, yeah?
So what I did was I had this dormant 401k account from an old job. So what I did was I followed the policy of putting money and investment into things that I knew and believed in.
Mm-hmm. So
like here, I always love to tell people this specific story. Let's flash back to 2006.
Let's do it.
I'm working a sales job at a internet advertising company that is making me feel miserable. This is the job that will push me into a creative life of comics and writing in a creative output overall. In that time frame, I had this little excess of money in this portfolio that was coming in from this job that I was like, well, why don't I just make an investment? So I invested in things that you wouldn't normally think to invest in. Hasbro.
Yeah.
Rhode Island's Hasbro. The other thing I invested in, this is really the point of the story, was Marvel Comics.
Nice.
I'm a fan of Marvel Comics. I know what's happening with Marvel Comics.
Right.
I bought Marvel at $22 a share in 2006, prior to them being purchased by Disney, which then shot that stock up to, I think when I sold it, it was like $158 a share.
Oh my god.
Holy shit.
So that money helped me get to Comic-Cons, It helped me to do X, Y, and Z. But I actually cashed out the whole entire stock account when I decided to invest in a solar system for the house.
Yeah.
So that was like,
Nice.
this is going to pave more forward to the future than playing gambling in the stock market.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
You
So,
did it right though,
I
because you
did it.
used it. That's amazing.
Right, exactly. So that's if there's anything I'm not a CPA. This is not stock advice, but if you could follow anything from my doing, I would say like invest in what you know, invest in what you believe in, and don't go out there to get rich. Just go out there to get a job done.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of what I did. I had enough money to buy a solar system outright so that now I'm producing energy for the homestead where energy costs are shooting through the roof.
Oh, it's awful.
What
Yeah.
made me fucking bananas was looking at an electricity bill and noting that the cost to deliver my energy was more
Oh my gosh.
than the actual energy that I was consuming. I'm
Yep.
like, whoa, how do I stop this?
Yep.
Produce my own energy.
Yep.
So
Get a solar system.
if I give you $50, will you invest it and turn it into 50,000 and keep the first 50?
I'd love to do that, but I'd hate to gamble with other people's money.
I'm joking. I'm joking. So you've met a lot of famous people through
Yeah.
your dealings with conventions and comic books and all that. Any
Who
particular
really
people?
sucks and who is cool?
Maybe I have, but I forget. That's the thing. Like we were saying about Chris Poland, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I even forgot I met
You
Chris
met-
Poland, but it's awesome that I did, right? I don't want to say who sucks and who's great because yes, there are people out there who are just awful to meet, and that old saying of "don't meet your heroes."
It's true.
But I can speak to so many great positive experiences of famous people I've met. A couple come to mind. One of them was Richard Hatch from the original Battlestar Galactica TV show.
Oh yeah.
He played Apollo Adama, and he was one of the main characters of the show. He was one of the first actors I met when I went to Comic-Con as an attendee. So over the years, I'd always pop into his booth. Hey, and I think he may recognize me. He may have not. He meets a lot of people, whatever. One of the last times I met him before he passed, we were at Comic-Con. I'm a creative professional at this point in things. So when we're going places, we need to get places. So we don't have a lot of time on the floor to stop and chit-chat. I pass Richard Hatch, Apollo Adama. I just go, Captain. And I saluted him just so he acknowledged me, just so I could acknowledge him. He stopped. He goes, hey. He made sure to stop and to speak with me,
Aw.
to take a photo with me. And that was the last photo I took with him before he passed.
Oh, my
So
God.
for the first person I met at San Diego Comic-Con and one of the last photos he may have taken at that show, that's somebody I can point to and say, well, he took the time.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
he was humble enough to just stop and talk to somebody who saluted him,
Yeah.
whether he remembered me or not.
Right. That's
Those
awesome.
are the great people that you want to,
Yeah.
Amen.
remember.
Yeah.
You don't want to remember the people who wouldn't take the time or who spoke to you disparagingly or who spoke down to you.
Yep.
But that's on the flip side of it. As a fan, always be respectful of these people.
Yeah.
It took me a while to learn that too.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What do you do? You have anything in the works that's coming out anytime soon?
I have too much in the works, and none of it's coming out anytime soon because there's too much in the works. I think I'd like to run another Kickstarter campaign this year of collected stories that didn't get published in other avenues.
Yep.
So I'd like to collect those. I'd like to put a little bit more money into it just to produce like some nice covers and some perks for the campaign and to put that out there. Economically, 2024 was a downturn year for just everything in general and in particularly comics.
Yep.
I was 30% down on all revenue at every show last year. Not that every show was bad. Some shows were better than others, like C2E2, a Chicago-based convention last year was good. but not as good as prior years, and still down over prior years. So to that point, it was a tough year. I'm going to wait because I don't want to put out a product in a time frame where I can't financially make the most back from it. So I have to really just keep an eye out on what the landscape looks like for crowdfunding before I decide, hey, I think now's a good time to launch a campaign.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then there's little things in between there that you can do to make sure you maximize your campaign. So I just want to make sure that before I do that, I have my ducks in the row. So that being said, I'm very pie-eyed where I say I want to run 3 campaigns in a year. I'll be lucky if I get to 1 and I do it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
We've it's been 10 years since we released our last Vulgarity album.
Yes.
And
God, it has.
We've
Has it really been 10 years?
It's been 10. Yeah, 2015.
You guys are in my rotation all the time on my playlist too. So like I'll drive, and that speaks to also not communicating regularly. Is that when one of your songs come on, I feel like I'm with my friends again.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? It's like I've been visiting you guys with you there without you guys actually there for a long time now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you have a much more balanced approach to releasing stuff than we do. Like we've been hanging on. We've been working on an album for 10 years, and it's like it's been like 90% done for like the past 2 years, and we're just like, we'll release it whenever.
You guys are your own worst critic. That's what I.
Yeah.
When I was in broadcasting school, I went to a certificate school for radio broadcasting, and I couldn't finish my demo. I couldn't even finish my demo because I was my own worst critic.
Yeah.
And every cut I recorded was never the right one, even though the right one was probably the first, second, or third.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's just that's the problem when you have a creative brain. You're blessed with creativity, but you also carry self-doubt on your shoulder.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And then that self-doubt will get you every time if you don't regulate it.
No, it's very true. Yeah.
So we were trying to think of funny stories that we could have you tell.
Yes.
And then we were like, well, I don't know that I want the whole internet to know certain
I've got a
ones.
handful of funny stories amongst all the things. Like,
We were like, okay, what the heck happened at the Tom Petty concert? Like, we couldn't remember the
I
details.
don't remember a
Did
lot
we get kicked out?
I think we tried to sneak in, and we got kicked out because they found us. We tried to jump over the fence. You remember that?
I think I was in the show and I was very drunk, so I may have not been privy to that part of it.
Oh, yeah, maybe that was it. I think you were in there, and some of us didn't have tickets, so we were still, like, pre-gaming in the parking lot during the show.
So that's the beauty of some of those concerts and back in the day, and I feel like that's some of the lost art, is like, if you don't have tickets to a concert, fucking go anyway.
Yeah.
Go party in the parking lot. You'll have
can
more
still hear
fun
it.
in the parking lot.
You can still
and
hear
you can
it.
hear it exactly than you would if you're just like in the venue itself. You want to know where I was during that time frame, Sean? I was arm in arm with all my friends and cousins, swaying to the music, but really just trying to stay so I don't fall down because we were so stinking drunk.
Oh, that was me at the Faith No More concert. But we're not going to tell that story.
We won't tell that story, even though that story took us all over Boston, including Government Center.
Oh, boy. I'm kind of glad I missed that one.
Oh, yeah, I was a hot mess.
There was 2 Faith No More's. So we went to the original reunion show at the Orpheum, and that was awesome because even there was a ticket snafu there that night. I think somebody like copied or scalped my tickets or something.
Yeah.
So we all ended up standing in the back together.
Yep.
Your tires busted on the way to that concert. I remember you couldn't go. Like you had to get your car towed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Good times.
Good times
God.
indeed.
We got to play the game. All
right, so game. Yeah, what's the game?
Okay, the game is, this is name the song. We're going to say the lyrics, and you have to name which song this is, okay?
God, I'm too high and drunk for this, but let's try.
Okay, first one. Ooh, baby, when you cry, your face is momentary. You hide your looks behind these scars.
That's the Misfits hybrid moment.
Yes.
I knew
Ding,
that.
ding, ding, ding,
I
ding,
knew
ding.
that. You guys are doing songs I know. You guys are doing my favorite bands. That's why I knew that.
If you don't get them, then you really are high and drunk.
I know, right?
Okay, ready? Here's the next one.
Next one.
Smiling with the mouth of the ocean, and I'll wave to you with the arms of the mountain.
We were just talking about Faith No More, and that's one of my absolute favorite songs,
Yeah.
Ashes to Ashes.
Yes.
And if I ever, so I've actually, to circle back to comics real briefly, I've been a part of several anthologies in comics. That's where you collect a bunch of short stories that kind of all have a general theme. The only anthology I've ever wanted to create and bring people on board to was an anthology of short stories that were all inspired by Faith No More songs.
That's so
Oh, that's
cool.
awesome.
That's my dream anthology project. If maybe at some point in my life I'll be lucky enough to get to that, but Ashes to Ashes is the song that I would use for a short in that anthology. That or Strip Search.
Yeah.
I would. They're one of my all-time favorite bands, so I would definitely be. If that ever does come to fruition, let me know because I would love to contribute in some way.
Okay, absolutely. So it's funny that you say that too, because there is somebody I met in comics. The individual's name is Mike Wellman, great guy. He wrote and produced the unofficial biography comic book of Faith No More. So if you're out there and you have a Faith No More comic book that's like a biography of the band, that was written by Mike Wellman, a good friend of mine.
Oh,
Oh, wow. Dude, that's awesome.
cool.
Yep.
See, we were looking for things that we didn't know about you today. We're
There you go.
finding out some things.
Facts.
Yeah. Okay, here's the next one. Ready?
Yes, lay it on me.
The love of God and constant contradictions, with just a smile, wink, and nod. What stranger, fact or fiction?
Oh, well, that's my third favorite band, who I also have a tattoo of right over here. That's the Mighty Mighty Bosstones. And, oh, God, the song. This is where it might escape me. Run that lyrics by me one more time.
The love of God and constant contradictions, with just a smile, wink, and nod. What stranger, fact or fiction?
Never ceasing to amaze on a regular basis. First hand into his pocket or first fist into his faces. Mr. Moran?
The Rascal King.
Rascal King. Rascal King. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, it is the Rascal King. I had the lyrics. I had the wrong person. Yes, it is Rascal King.
Nice.
Which is based on, I believe, a crooked politician from Boston history who was
would-
known as the Rascal
Really?
King.
That's
Yeah.
that would make sense.
And if you watch that music video, it's Mickey Rooney's son who tap dances in that video,
No
which is
shit.
pretty cool. Yeah. Nice fun fact.
All right, we got 2 more. Okay, here's the next one. Ready?
Yes.
A man of steel, welded to his cross. Lex Caesar, laugh one too many, boss.
That's tough.
This is a very obscure band that I know you like a lot.
Run that by me one more time.
A man of steel, welded to his cross. Lex Caesar, laugh one too many, boss. Want me to tell you?
Hold on, let me guess first. Is it Sam Blackchurch?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yes. So I thought it was. I don't have the song off the top of my head.
It's Super Christ.
Super Christ. Okay. So it's funny that you say that because the album cover is Superman.
Oh, yeah. I remember looking
Yes.
at it. Yep.
So it's funny that you say that. I knew, I was like, okay, that is definitely Sam Blackchurch. They just reunited a few years ago. Every single time I see those guys, I'm not just for the lack of being absolutely impressed by more specifically Jet, the lead singer, who in his age is still super fit and can just annihilate a set
Yep.
with high energy from A to Z.
That's
Guy
awesome.
is amazing.
Yep.
That's cool.
I haven't seen them in a long time. What is going on over there?
I
You
don't
got
know.
a
I'm
ghost?
tripping out. I love it. I thought we were getting the lights saying, "Hey, shut it down."
Yeah. Last call.
Last call. Oh, my whiskey's empty.
Well, we're almost out of time here. Anything else you want to mention
what's your advice for everyone? Oh, look at that.
Look at that. Cheers. Always have a glass of whiskey available. That's the best advice I could give. And you always need a Jules in your life. You always need a Jules in your life to be able to bring you a glass of whiskey. We're on video, right?
Yeah.
Get over here, Jules. Come on.
What the hell is going on with the lights, dude?
I love it. You always need a Jules in your life who can get you a glass of whiskey.
She's next on the channel.
Yeah,
she just doesn't know it yet.
Oh, that's awesome. So I guess if there's anything I can shout out at the moment, one of the things I'm doing regularly is I am the co-host on a YouTube show mostly on Monday nights. We say bi-weekly, but we find ourselves doing Monday nights weekly anyway.
Yeah.
And it's my buddy Keith Gleason's show. It's called Indie Comics Relay. And what we do is, much like you guys are shining a platform on creative talent, that's what we do for independent comic creators. So we'll be live on Monday nights at 9 p.m. on YouTube, and we'll just kind of shine a light on indie comics. And if somebody's got a campaign running, or if they are an established creator, we've had Mike Diodato from DC Comics, very prolific illustrator on the show. We've had Dees Casillas, a comedian who stepped into comics with an awesome book called Kill Stan on the show recently. So that is a method for me as an independent comic creator to keep my pulse on indie comics while also shining a light on those people, but also kind of staying in the groove myself, because really that Keith created that show during the pandemic when we couldn't go to Comic-Cons.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we couldn't do one of the most important aspects from a Comic-Con, which is network.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right? So we do the show now, and it keeps me plugged into, all these different comic creators. So Indie Comics Relay, Monday nights, 9 p.m. Skip Monday Night Raw on Netflix and watch us instead.
Yay.
Send me the links to everything that you want to publicize, and I'll put it in the description
absolutely.
of the video when we release this.
And I mean, I don't know if we're winding down, but this has been a lot of fun. So I appreciate you guys featuring me, having me on.
Dude, it's been a pleasure. Anytime you want to come back.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to have to be chatting with my friends.
Yay.
That's the most important part.
And we love you, and we love everything that you're doing. And
thank you.
You're one of we can't stress enough, you're one of the most positive, awesome people we've ever known. You really
are. I said, other people might disagree with you, but I'm glad you guys
You don't like
think
those
so.
people.
I'm glad you guys think so. That's important to me.
All right. Thanks, Johnny.
Thank you. Cheers. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.